All right, if you are a CFP, a financial advisor, a financial planner, an independent insurance agent, I'm going to talk to you about how you should be approaching these little accountants and bookkeepers and tax people that I have been training, because I have created a whole different business model that's really been fruitful. So I'm going to tell you about the model, I'm going to tell you about the value proposition, and then I'm going to invite you to kind of partake. And I do videos in my car because it's much easier for me to be productive. I'm sure you're always up against this too, where you're just trying to create the best environment possible to be productive, to work, to get things done. And for me, when I drive into my office, even during COVID, that's right, we do video, we do all sorts of content. I like to drive. So anyways, forgive this informal thing. Real quick, just a little background. So again, I'm going to talk about the business model. I'm going to talk about what's going on, why I've got hundreds of thousands, 1.5 million views on my YouTube channel, and not a ton of subscribers, but they're super niched, and I help all sorts of accountants and bookkeepers. So long story short, I'll cinch this up. Okay, I'm going to tell you the quick story. So I created a tax firm about 7 years ago. Just drove by it here, actually. I'm in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I was a pastor before that for 2 years. All I did was, before that I was at Best Buy, and I was a retail guy. I worked at Best Buy. I was kind of the best version of a Best Buy employee, you'd think. Got recruited to go work at Eaglebrook Church up in the north end of the cities, and I helped people by being a pastor of serving. Then I got fired and then got recruited by Thrivent Financial, where faith and finance meet, and where you help people be wise with their money, and learned a bunch. And out of that, basically 1 year of that, I decided that there was all this opportunity because I got all excited about taxes, tax planning. And then my best friend, whose name is Nick, he worked at CBiz, and he worked at CBiz, which is probably the 6th biggest CPA firm in the United States, huge firm. And long story short, he had gone and worked up at Eaglebrook, and I came up with this idea, this business model, and we call it, it's Nuanced Financial Tax and Accounting. And we grew it from 0 to about 150, and now they're at 300 plus small businesses. They got a team of 8 bookkeepers and payroll people, and then there's 2 of them that do the tax planning, the tax returns, and everything. And long story short, I built a model and a business proposition, a value proposition that attracts much higher monthly retainers because you just add more value. And basically my 3 value propositions, stay with me here. 1, I help people, we would help them mitigate their taxes, pay their fair share, not a penny more, and then we'd help maximize their wealth. So we'd be doing kind of like your Dave Ramsey financial coaching, a little bit of, but lots of like what retirement plans, because when you get into tax planning, it's lots of retirement plans, profit share, employer contributions through a SEP or a simple, or doing individual 401ks or group 401ks, trying to help them get into that, get into real estate, buy and hold real estate with depreciation, cost segregations when there's bonus depreciation in those years, and then to help them really mitigate taxes, usually helping them implement S Corps with small businesses, because an S Corp's a powerful tool. So anyways, a lot of tax planning information that we'd help them pay their fair share, not a penny more. And every red-blooded business owner you ever meet wants to only pay their fair share. They really don't want to pay any more than necessary. They like keeping the fruits of their labor, unbeknownst to the rest of the political class. They don't like giving up what they've worked. And when you have a payroll, I digress. I'm pretty liberty-minded. Anyways, the second value proposition is that you serve as an outsourced accountant. You serve as a staff, and you save them time, and you become a staff alternative where you actually do their bookkeeping and their payroll for them every week, every month, and you kind of have a rhythm to make sure that their books are really good, that they're done properly, and you're just this one-stop shop for the bookkeeping, the payroll, the tax return, the tax planning, the financial coaching, and being a financial admin. Around that, you're a staff alternative. And then the third thing is you would help keep them compliant, right? So by keeping them compliant, you're doing the tax return better, and then you also help them mitigate risks. And this is where I coach them, and I try and get them to encourage every business owner that they interact with to get protections, right? Life insurance, long-term disability insurance, health insurance, look at liability insurance, make sure that they are insured properly so that they don't get hosed, and just make sure that they do stuff right. Make sure that they're wise, that they're protected from IRS audit and whatever that is. The reason why I'm framing all this up is that business model is valuable, and that business model gets these CPAs out of this, well, I do individual taxes, I do 200 of them, I charge $500, they're never really happy about it. I have no life at the end of the year. When it's tax return time, my spouse never sees me. I want to gouge my eyes out because I'm never not working. It gets them out of this feast and famine cycle. Tax season is still busy, but really they can charge between $300 and $3,500 a month. What I've seen is that there's this $500 to $1,500 to $3,500 a month cycle that you can do depending on the size of the business and the value that you add for them. Particularly, you can save them a ton in taxes in this S Corp model, and then getting them to be financially wise. And then the second thing is, by serving as a staff alternative, any business that's used to paying a $20 an hour, $40 an hour employee, it's quite attractive to hire a bookkeeping team for $1,500 a month rather than paying a staff person $3,500 a month, whatever that is. So by serving as the staff alternative, they can make a great living. They're engaged with their clients through the year. They do more meaningful work. They get to actually impact these businesses. And I've got a series of videos, like one of them is called Six Figures with 16 Clients, and that's pretty conservative. I think a lot of these guys can go out, and if you find the right client and you're good at your sales process and everything, they can get retainers for $500 to $2,500, $3,500 a month. But lots of $1,000 a month clients, $1,500 a month client is very easy for them when they're serving as the staff alternative. So what has happened is I've got this groundswell of accountants and bookkeepers that are doing this model, and we're setting up little websites for them. I have some of the bigger guys who have more money already. We're doing full-fledged paid advertising. So my current business is called Feedbackwrench, but I also do this consulting and coaching. I have a course and I help people. But here's what's relevant to you. There's some ways I would encourage you to find some of these outsourced accountants that I'm talking about. If you go to my new website called Zip CPA, and if you were to just give me your information and tell me a little bit about what you're doing, I have these CPAs that I think would really help your business. And I think that by you locking arms with these outsourced accountants, some synergy can happen. So I want to talk about 3 synergistic things that would occur. There's a whole bunch of guys out there. I've even seen them because I go on accountant stuff, and I've seen their Facebook ads pop up about how you can grow your practice tremendously, especially if you're a little bit bigger financial agency, by getting somebody in to do tax returns and do business tax returns, and how it can drastically improve your business. And I would affirm that. But the first synergy that I would see is that these guys are usually really bad at sales. They're usually not geared to prospect. They're usually not geared to go out and build a business, right? They're, after some training, they get really good at running a meeting. They can, in 1 hour, I ran 100, probably 200 meetings with Nick and Ed, my old partners. And out of that, they received training on how to actually move people through a process that would get them nodding their heads so that they'd be ready to sign up. And we would find out if they're a good fit or not, right? And I think you're probably, if you're watching this and you're a CFP and you've been doing this for any amount of time, you understand that your front-end activity is what really keeps you going, right? And so I think the first thing is that if you can help them with that, there's a huge value add. Now, a bunch of you are listening to this. There's also financial advisors and money people who are terrible at prospecting. But basically, after about year 3, we know that those that are good at prospecting make tons of money in the financial advising world. Those that do not make nothing, right? But the first thing that you could help is, I really think if you were to lock arms with them, 1 + 1 wouldn't equal 2. 1 + 1 in terms of sales for them and yourself would be an exponential thing. I think it would be 1 + 1 = 10. And then if you have more staff people, I think when people have complementary giftings, complementary value propositions, it's not just an addition that happens, it's a multiplication, and it's an exponential factor. The second thing is, that the one thing, not everybody has to invest. They should, they really need to, but they don't have to. If people don't pay their taxes, the government shows up with guns and puts them in prison eventually, right? So there's this ultimate dirty little thing where they are, that the business owners with lots of wealth have conundrums in 2 areas that you already know about: taxes and estate planning. So you want to get in front of those people, and if you can find somebody that knows how to do really good proactive tax planning, you're going to have this opportunity to basically have people funnel towards you. So I would say that it's going to grow your business, because if you allow them to have a tax firm that's basically locked armed with you, it might not be that they join your practice and only do taxes. It might be that they have their own business name, but they're allowed to get a ton of Google reviews. They're allowed to advertise in a whole other way. So what's really neat is if they get lots of Google and Facebook reviews, if they run Google ads with Feedbackwrench with me, and Bing ads and remarketing, like, they have this avenue to get all sorts of clients in a much more powerful way than you do. And if you help them run good meetings, boy, you're in front of people. Now, I know that I'm crossing all sorts of red tape, and every compliance officer that might be watching this, their brain just popped. But I think that most of you understand that if you're careful and if you do it right, there's a way to do this. And I know that there's lots of firms getting away with this and doing it well. But basically what I'm saying is that you'll get more leads, because ultimately people will do taxes. Now, I always encourage these CPAs and bookkeepers to only focus on small businesses. On the other side, if you do individual tax returns, and if you can be efficient with that, which I think it's a losing game, but only if it's just tax returns. Personal tax returns can be a giant win if there's also some proactive coaching going on, and you ultimately get an opportunity to look through it and look at what they've got and say, you know what? Have you looked at doing this and this and this? Have you looked at this insurance? Have you looked at, and I think that a person who's really wise in terms of protections and investing and can approach it from a wise perspective would be able to do a tax return and ask the right questions at the right time. The balance is that if you become a tax return firm, if the only way they can pay themselves is by doing such high volume that they can't add good value to their clients. So your tension is going to be, you have to do just enough tax returns that can help you fill your sales funnel, but you also can't do so many that you can't add value. You can't pump the brakes. And the only way that works is, I think, if they're partnered with someone like you. And this could be that maybe you guys pay them a fee so that they have a base salary if you're doing just that. But ultimately, I think that if they can build up their book of $1,500 a month clients, and as individual tax returns come, because they do, they can say yes to them in the thought that maybe what you guys do is you provide financial planning around that, a written retirement plan. I cannot emphasize it enough that a written retirement plan is probably the most important thing that anybody over the age of 40 can do. You need to get an idea of what you're doing, because whatever, we all know that. I don't need to preach to you, right? So the first thing is you guys can help them with sales. The second thing is they'll help you with prospecting. You can do some more interesting advertising. You're not so hamstringed. Like, they could run gobs of Google ads to drive tax returns, and then what you do is you benefit from them because they're prospecting, right? I'd say that the third thing that you're going to be able to do is you'd have a diversified income stream, right? It's very easy for them, I think, to, if they do my 3 value propositions, which I have a course for $500 that I sell. We do websites and small websites for the little guys. We help other people with their full-fledged websites and marketing systems, and we do lots of remarketing. Kind of this omnipresent retargeting is what we like to do. We shoot video. We help them create content. But most of these guys are small, so they're not really, I have courses and stuff. But basically, when you're doing this, $1,500 to $2,500 a month is quite easy to get. Now, I know that that's not huge money, but it's enough to be a diversified income stream, and you can perform a service that's necessary, that's meaningful, and plays so tightly into your arms. I think it's right. So if you're interested in this right now, go to feedbackwrench.com. That's my website. But I'm building a Zip CPA. Right now, it's just a real simple. In fact, I don't even think I've finished the whole thing. Actually, I haven't finished even the homepage. It's just a look and feel thing right now. But essentially what we can do is we can get you connected to some of these guys. I'd love to have you fill out a form and connect. I'd love to talk to you about your web presence and advertising too. But really what we want to do is I want to help you guys get connected to these CPAs. We want to tell their stories and maybe even have you on the podcast, because we got a podcast going too. So good luck. God bless. Like and subscribe if this is helpful. Appreciate the time.